Just when I thought there was no hope for gaming, 2023 came along and proved me wrong. Now, not everything in 2023 was a great game, but it was definitely a lot better than what we've seen in pretty much the last decade. So I decided to do what any sensible person would do and assemble a team of professionals to give our pick for the top game of the year. And also for part 2, where we cover the worst games of the year. Also, just a heads up, this is our first time doing this, so it might be a little rough. So how do you start one of these off?
I don't know, it's your show.
Guess we could start with best multiplayer.
Alright, so what are the nominees? Obviously, Silent or Destiny 2, Destiny 2, Destiny 2, and Destiny 2.
Gross.
There's only one game that won over my heart this year, multiplayer-wise.
And what was that?
Halo Infinite.
That didn't come out this year.
No, it didn't come out this year, but best multiplayer game would be a ongoing multiplayer game, right?
Mm.
We're already debating the technicality.
There is a category where you can definitely put Halo, though.
Because... Well, I guess no, never mind. I was going to say best ongoing game, but no. What would you put as a brand new multiplayer game that you played? Because none of us played the finals, which looks awesome, by the way.
All right, let's go with my pick. Remnant 2. But that game
so when
is
you say
a whole
multiplayer,
multiplayer, like co-op.
Your definition of multiplayer is just the ability to play a game with a friend.
Pretty much.
Is that not the definition?
Yeah.
Typically, multiplayer games are seen as like competitive online things. Like if I were to say best multiplayer game, like I probably wouldn't say Mario Wonder because it's couch co-op. Although I guess by technicality it does work. I don't even know what I played this year, to be honest. That was multiplayer. I played a lot of single player stuff this year.
All right, let me check your recently played. Oh yeah, you played Diablo.
Yeah, I'm not. That wasn't good. I'm not just kidding, it was alright, but I wouldn't give that the award.
Oh yeah, neither would I. Yeah, I just mean competitive, co-op, whatever you want to say.
Well then, for sure. Well then, I would give the nod of that to Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, there you go.
Easily the best fighting game this year. Online lobbies function really well. All the stuff they added that makes it just so easy and seamless to play, customize, like Street Fighter 6 is for sure. One of the best games of the year for sure.
And yeah, I know I already said Remnant 2 for best multiplayer. Some of the stuff you unlock in that you need a co-op partner to do, but yeah. Had a lot of fun playing through that on Apocalypse. Mostly just with Catch, since somebody didn't get it. Anyway, before you say anything, on to Kieran.
Yeah, hard choice, but out of the games that I've played that came out this year, it's probably gonna have to be Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh yeah, that is co-op, right?
Yeah, up to 4 players, yeah. Unless you get a mod, there's a mod where you can play this up to 8, I think. Yeah, I've played a few with like just co-op, others with like the max 4 players. All of it very fun and chaotic in the best ways.
How does the story stuff work in co-op?
I've been trying to figure that out. I think it kind of almost considers you one entity in a way. At least for some stuff. I don't know if it's for everything, but I do know that like there's these things you can consume. I don't know how much you guys know about the game, but
I know there's bears involved.
Yeah. Well, there's these things that are kind of bad, but they can be useful, and so there's like this big debate that kind of goes on throughout the game of like, should we be using these things or should we not be using them? And one of my friends that I played with used it, and then like the rest of us went and like talked to like the NPCs in our group, and they're like, I can't believe you used that thing. Like that's like I don't think I would. And we were like, well, we didn't. He did. Yeah, so I think it kind of considers you all the same person, or that at least all like the NPCs and stuff too.
I was kind of curious if it had like a Old Republic style group dialogue system where it just all 4 people pick a choice and then it just rolls them a random number between 1 and 100, and the guy with the highest number wins the dialogue
you can
choice.
if you're in a dialogue with someone, whoever I guess who's ever closest to that person is the person who like is actively in the conversation. And the rest of us can like watch, and you can actually like we can choose a dialogue option. It's pretty much like voting. And then, but ultimately, whoever's in the dialogue has the choice. But yeah, we can try and influence them if we want.
One day I'll buy the game.
Yeah, I almost understandably, I almost didn't, but I wasn't working. I didn't have much going on, and one of my classmates was like, "You should get it, and we can play." And okay, fine.
It got so big and became such like a cultural thing that it's like it's even piqued my interest, despite the fact that it's like not really what I consider a game that's for me. But
I thought the same, honestly, because I've played, what was it, Divinity, which is also by Larian.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I wasn't, as I was playing Divinity, and it's very similar to Baldur's Gate and how it plays. I was not sure if Divinity was really the game for me, but once I kind of got used to Baldur's Gate, it's a ton of fun. It's different for sure, but yeah.
Yeah, normally I don't play that type of game except for like Dragon Age Origins. I liked, but
That's a pretty.
I heard it was kind of similar.
Yeah.
Except, yeah, more turn-based in Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, very much so.
Alrighty, next we'll do best story. Do it alphabetical.
Let's see. What did I play? Oh god, sorry, I'm just getting chased by the cops in here. I mean, I'd probably give it to Final Fantasy 16. I just love that game so much. Had pretty shit ending, not gonna lie, but I really like characters. I like the world. I like how it did this thing called active time lore, where it really went into depth with the backstories and why everything was the way it was. And I'm not really a Final Fantasy guy, but that game is incredible and probably my favorite PS5 game so far. Not foreshadowing any choices of mine whatsoever.
Well, as I'm sure you guys know, best story for me is 100% going to Alan Wake 2.
Shocker.
I know. But yeah, I thought the characters were all well written and likable for the most part. There's a bit of dialogue near the end that was pretty cringy, but hey, you can forgive one line. The story kept me invested from pretty much from start to finish, I'd say. Aside from that, only complaint would be the ending. It didn't really tie up a lot of stuff. It does set up for a sequel, I'd say. I'm just hoping we don't have to wait another 13 years to get a follow-up to it.
Definitely not foreshadowing any of my choices, but I'm probably going to have to go for Baldur's Gate again. But yeah, the story is it kind of pulls you in right away, and the fact that you can influence a lot of how the story plays out. There are multiple endings of which I have not experienced any number. Like, there's so many, and yeah, I have not experienced them all by any means. Yeah, just the fact. I think that's the part I just probably love about it most is this. It's very customizable in the way you can decide how the story goes, and just things that you maybe think didn't matter might end up mattering near the end. It's like, yeah, it's very cool.
Oh, so the opposite of Mass Effect, huh? They tell you all those choices matter, and then they just, okay, right at the end of the game, here's your 3 choices, and screw all your other ones.
Yeah.
Most replayable game of the year. Starting with you, Bobby, who is muted.
Oh.
Yeah, I kind of hate that I'm going to give this award to this, but I'm going to go with Mortal Kombat 1. And even though the game is kind of disappointing in a sense that it's doesn't lacks the features that previous games had. Having seasons, having stuff to unlock, it is cool, so it does pull you back in. But the gameplay of Mortal Kombat 1 is phenomenal, so it is very replayable. It is rewarding in that sense, so I would probably give that to Mortal Kombat 1.
For me, obvious pick there would be Remnant 2, because you have to re-roll all the worlds a shitload of times if you want to get everything. And with procedural generating, it makes it a lot more replayable. A close pick for that would have been Resident Evil 4, because, yeah, I cleared that about 11 times. It also took like an hour and a half to clear it near the end, though, so... yeah. And now, the Kieran.
Yeah, pretty much for the reasons I said before, but yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, just because of all the different kind of story avenues you can go, and... also, like, I guess I didn't mention this before, but the fact, like, you can make your own personalized character, but you can also choose to play as one of, like, the, I don't want to say NPC, because that's not quite right. I can't, well, they're their own set of, like, party characters that come in the game that will, like, go with you on the adventure. You can choose to play one of them instead as well. And, yeah, just between all that stuff, you have a lot of different avenues on how the story can shake out. I've got a friend who's, I think, on his third playthrough, and yeah, it's still completely different from the other ones he's done. It's wild how much content is in the game.
Up next, we'll go with Best Soundtrack. Starting with Beezy.
Honestly, probably the game I'm playing right now, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is the spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio. Legendary soundtrack, legendary composer. Definitely dig it quite a bit. Best soundtrack to Final Fantasy 16. That game does have an amazing soundtrack and score, and is just super insane.
Obviously, for me, Alan Wake 2 wins this one by a long shot. They were quite good with Twitch, with them coming up with their own soundtrack so you wouldn't get copy striked anywhere.
Oh, that's nice.
And the soundtrack was actually pretty good, especially a certain chapter of the game, which will be in an upcoming section.
The Old Guards of Asgard or whatever?
Yeah. Well, that's the name of the band in the game.
Mm.
Alright, and actually I'm going to give runner-up for best soundtrack to Armored Core 6.
For soundtrack?
Yeah. When you first boot up the game, it kind of gives you some pretty heavy Terminator theme song vibes, which is pretty fitting because 90% of the people who beat the game ended up looking like the HK tanks from the future in Terminator. And now to Kieran.
I actually am gonna do a kind of a curveball here. Now, while it is not a game that I have played this year, I played the prequel to it, but I have listened to the soundtrack because I play D&D and I take soundtracks from other games, and this was, since I loved the first one, I thought I would check out the soundtrack for this one, and it's just as good. It's called Octopath Traveler 2. And it's kind of like I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's
Yep.
It's kind of like the early day Final Fantasy games, but it's made more modern, so there's benefits there. But yeah, the soundtrack is amazing. I love the series so much. It's such a vibe.
Yeah, when Octopath was originally revealed, I remember saying I kind of wish that they would have just called it Final Fantasy 16. I think it would have been a really cool way to go back, but Square's always I can give them props for doing random and unique stuff, especially when it comes to like Nintendo RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Beezy, this next category, I know you'll... Obviously, I know probably which one you're going to go with here, but best comeback of the year. And this can include games from other years.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to give it to Halo Infinite, which I didn't play previously, but I've heard lots of bad things, especially from somebody hosting this award show. But
No. I would never.
I think Halo Infinite's pretty fun, pretty incredible, and it's a nice breath of fresh air compared to the usual stuff I've been playing. So I've been digging it, and sounds like that they really wrote the wrongs starting with Season 5 this year. So it's cool to see. I actually bought an Xbox just to play Halo, and don't regret it.
So did I, but I do.
Well, there are lots of stuff you can play on Game Pass and whatnot, so I've been taking advantage of that, and I do dig it. I think Game Pass is a pretty incredible of a deal, to be honest.
And yeah, for me, I'm kind of torn between Halo Infinite, because they did improve that game quite a bit this year, so that is kind of nice. The other game that did was Cyberpunk. I hear that is a very good game now.
Yes, but I mean, like, who's played it in here? I bought it the day it came out, and I haven't gone back to play it. I definitely want to, but I mean, it's nice they fixed it, but it should have never been shipped the way it was.
You can say the same damn thing about Halo.
I guess, but here's the thing. If somebody shits on your floor, and then they clean it up, do you reward them for cleaning up that shit on your floor?
No, definitely not. And now, Kieran, what would you say for that category?
Well, I'm not as experienced with this one
as
others, but yeah, I think the one I had heard about, I hadn't really heard about Halo too much, but I did hear about Cyberpunk. So I'll probably go with that as my vote.
Oh yeah, 2 against 1, we win. All right, most memorable moment in a game this year. With Beezy.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pause my game because I'm actually in the middle of a boss fight. Most memorable moment for me is definitely Final Fantasy 16. The Titan battles. But there's one in particular that was it's literally a fight against an icon, which is like it goes into the lore of the Final Fantasy summons, and the icon known as Titan. It's straight up like a Platinum Games Bayonetta, like insane fight that you just do, and the music is just like super techno, just pounding in your ears, and absolutely nuts. So Final Fantasy 16's boss fights are incredibly memorable. They're some of the highest of the highs I think I've ever had playing a video game, and for sure the most memorable moment to me.
And for me, it's absolutely going to We Sing chapter from Alan Wake 2. That is one of the most memorable chapters I've seen in the game for a long time.
I thought you were going to say like a game called We Sing. I was going to say no way.
Oh, no. No, it's not every day you get a musical section in a survival horror game, but they made it work. Yeah, if you're planning on playing the game, I wouldn't recommend looking at that chapter first and just leave it for when it shows up in the game, but yeah. It was a solid 20-minute musical. And how to Kieran?
Back to the classic. Gonna have to go back with Baldur's Gate 3. I can't say if it was a particular like chapter. I think it's just there's some comedic moments that happen when you're playing with friends that are just so like we got I remember I was playing with my other 3 friends, and we got ambushed by a monster, and it was just bullying the hell out of us. It was like reviving other creatures that had turned to stone and setting them on us, and then also like paralyzing the rest of us. I remember I tried to hide from it, and it ended up just freaking. Oh, actually, no. It attacked me, downed me. One of my friends got me back up, and then I hid, and then it blew me off a cliff, and it was just a sequence of events that was super funny. Yeah, and there's probably other stuff too that I can think of, but that's the one that immediately comes to my mind. But just a lot of moments that kind of crop up when you're playing that game with friends that are. It's just stuff that like you can't really, I don't know, manufactured. They just have to happen. And yeah,
Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention my runner-up. That's going to the Labyrinth Sentinel, I think it's called, in Remnant 2. It's a whole bunch of cubes that roll around the map, and if they land on you, you die. It looks a lot more difficult than it actually is when you first start it up. But yeah, once you get the hang of it, and you know where to go and where you're safe for the most part, it's not that bad. And you're pretty damn relieved after you clear that for the first time. That definitely applies to when you beat the game on hardcore too. That was the only scare factor for hardcore for me.
Well, yeah, I definitely have a runner-up now that I really think about it. And not really a spoiler, but you get to play as Venom a little bit in Spider-Man 2, and it's like
heavy spoiler.
It's fucking nuts. Like Venom is done so well in that game. It's probably for sure one of the coolest moments in a video game for me.
Well, Willie's not here for best Souls-like game, but he did say Liza P. There's Willie's contribution to this whole thing. I don't think he said why or anything like that, but hey. Oh well. Well,
from what I hear about Liza P, which I do plan to play on Xbox Game Pass, it has apparently very incredible boss fights, a very good story, and one of the best endings ever in a video game. It's very inspired by Bloodborne, and a lot of people I know who love Bloodborne have literally said that this is basically Bloodborne 2. They didn't just copy the game, they kind of went their own way, they added their own mechanics, and it plays very well, and that's why it's very well received.
And for me, best Souls-like game would be Remnant 2. It's just a Souls game with guns, and yeah. Runner-up for that would have been Armored Core, which I did like the game, but you're kind of forced into certain builds a lot of the time, especially when you're going for S ranks on every mission. And Kieran, I'm guessing you haven't played any Souls-like games this year?
No, I have not. I loaded up a few and just selected a randomizer to choose one if you want that. But.
Nah.
All right.
So who was your favorite character in probably Final Fantasy?
Oh, Clive for sure. Clive is, I think this is going to be a hot-ass take, I know that, but I think Clive is the best Final Fantasy character ever. He's just this real gritty, chiseled fucking dude who's just actually like this really soft-spoken teddy bear who's pretty goddamn cool.
No way. Remake Cloud is 100% better, right, Kieran?
That guy's a dick.
And that's why he's so good. Yeah, in the 7 remake, he's an asshole. 80% of the game.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy 16, by the way, put me into a huge Final Fantasy kick. I bought 12 on Switch. I had Final Fantasy 7 Remake and started playing that. I just think, like, Final Fantasy, you could argue that it's not an RPG, and I don't think you're necessarily wrong. It has RPG elements, but it's not as RPG as other Final Fantasies. But, man, the fucking combat in that game is so good.
And I think of who I'd actually give favorite character to. Obviously, there's Alan Wake.
What, Sam Lake?
Yeah, Sam Lake's character. There we go. No, he pretty much gave himself a main character role in that game.
Yeah. I don't want to hear anyone talk shit about Hideo Kojima ever again.
Yeah. He puts himself in games a lot, but not 80% of it.
Starry character.
Yeah.
I've never seen a Hideo Kojima musical.
That's what he's missing. I don't know how I forgot all about this while I was putting this together, but I gotta give a shout out to my boy Rusty from Armored Core 6. Best wingman around. And favorite character for Kieran?
Hard choice, as many of the characters from Baldur's Gate 3 are very well written, but I think my favorite is probably, and rightly so, got an award for it, but it would have to be Astarion. He's a super well written character. Very snarky, very kind of witty. Like, he's not objectively a good person, but you just can't help but like him. And yeah, he has some really good dialogue that I love seeing his reaction to a bunch of different shit.
Now, Beezy, I don't know if this category, if you've had enough time to really go with this one, but best Game Pass game from this year.
Well, this one's kind of tough because I did just recently get an Xbox. So obviously I, right off the hop, got Halo Infinite. I have played Like a Dragon Gaiden. I have downloaded Lies of P. I have downloaded Hi-Fi Rush, and I haven't given those ones a try. But those are also both highly contended games. I'm going to say best Game Pass game, though, for me is for sure Halo Infinite. The reason I got the Xbox. Playing Halo 3 maps with my friends from high school in 2023 is kind of insane, but fucking sweet.
As long as it's not, high ground 20 times in a row?
That is annoying.
Yeah. Only there was a system to vote for your maps.
I know.
Kind of like Halo 3.
Imagine if features from past Halo games like vetoing and proximity chat were still a thing. Crazy.
It was always good when you got a kill on some other player, then you hear them just yelling through their mic. No! You don't have Game Pass, or do you? Or wait,
I do not.
Never mind, I skipped mine too.
Yeah.
Right, Remnant 2. That got added on Game Pass last minute, so that wins. Because I think they added both of them in, December?
I think Remnant was added in November. It's been there for a little bit, at least since I've had my console.
So you're skipping that category though, Kieran?
I guess. I've heard a lot of really great things about Game Pass, and I probably should finally just, pay the excruciating $1.
It's an awesome service, and it's I think it's insane Microsoft doesn't promote it and go out of their way to throw it out there in sports games and during the Super Bowl and like advertise it. It's Game Pass is not on other consoles, and the other service that tries, PlayStation Plus Essential, is just not the same.
Yeah.
Game Pass is a really fucking cool thing, and the thing that makes consoles unique is their own uniqueness, and Sony hasn't put out a lot of games this year. They're oddly quiet about what's going on for the next year. Well, Microsoft is really starting to get some games pumping and going and whatnot. I think there's a momentum tide going their way. However, when games like Grand Theft Auto or Madden or FIFA or whatever are coming out, people gravitate towards PlayStation. That's where their friends play, and PS4 won the most important console race ever. So if Microsoft can really, really start to tie people over by advertising Game Pass and getting really cool stuff on there, like a Hi-Fi Rush, it's already a service worth being a part of, but it'd be even more so. Hopefully more people will get to experience it.
With Microsoft, they need to make their exclusives launch a bit better.
Yeah, and that too. I mean, you look at something like Redfall. I mean, it's completely unacceptable for a game to launch the way it did, and it is embarrassing. It is a black eye. I gave Game Pass to Halo Infinite, but I'd also say like another reason I wanted to get Game Pass was that I could try Starfield. And Starfield didn't really hook me. It's not. I didn't think it was like a bad game. It's just that like I don't know. It's not like really my style of game. It was still like a cool thing that I could do. That I could play Game Pass non-committal. I'm not buying this game for $80, and I got to kind of try it out.
Is Sea of Thieves a Game Pass game?
Yes.
There you go, Kieran.
There, I'll say that one. I love Sea of Thieves.
I'd love to try it. I just need some friends. Well, I think you should have done a best DLC.
Okay, fine. Let's add that.
Oops.
Best DLC. Let's go.
Yeah. Pokemon, the Indigo Disc.
Okay, we're ending this. Let's get out of here, everybody.
Let's fucking go.
Best
Now
DLC.
you can ask me why?
No, not even.
Well, you should ask me why. Because Swampert is back, motherfucker.
Oh.
Swamp Daddy is back. Comp Swamp. That's why.
For me, best DLC, Remnant 2 DLC. It's $10 and there's a lot of stuff to do, so yeah. I also don't think I played much in the way of DLC stuff this year, so...
Yeah, what about Resident Evil?
Assignment Ada I thought was kind of boring.
Ooh.
Or Separate Ways, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't bad, it's just not that interesting. It could have just been after clearing the base game 11 times, I was just kind of done with the game. But you're pretty much just going to the same areas you've been to. There's a few different ones here and there. There's a couple of bosses, and one of them's kind of new, but yeah. It was okay it was good for the price, but yeah. I only beat that thing once and then just never went back to it. And Kieran, best DLC for you. If you...
Also did not play anything with DLC.
Really? What'd you play this year? Other than Baldur's Gate.
He's here for Baldur's Gate representation this year.
Yeah, representation, yeah. I've played games, but the only one that I've played that came out this year was Baldur's Gate.
Oh.
Yeah. I've been slowly catching up. Literally last year, my Steam was like, hey, here's the games you played this year, and it was like 2. I had last year I apparently just not game much at all. Probably explain why it was such a shitty year. But yeah, I've been trying to catch up on a lot of games.
I did buy a lot of games this year. I just didn't finish a lot of the Game of the Year games. I played
Resident
Mario
Evil.
Wonder, Resident Evil, Zelda, Spider-Man I finished, Final Fantasy I finished. Like I said, I've downloaded Hi-Fi Rush. I've played Starfield, never finished it. That was definitely a lot.
Get any platinum trophies this year?
I got 2.
Ooh. Those are rookie numbers.
Final Fantasy and Spider-Man. Yeah, that's it. I know it is kind of embarrassing to see, to be honest. But I've also played more other stuff for the first time in a while.
You've been
pretty much played.
You dropped your addiction to Destiny, so this has been a good year for you.
Yeah, it was just nice playing other games. Well, it was definitely last year. It was last year when I took a break from Destiny to play Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I absolutely love that game. Yeah, I just feel like every game now is just tries to be live servicey and holds your time and attention. It kind of sucks. So I do want to play more games, kind of like going forward. That's like what I used to do a lot. So I really want to play something same way I did Destiny there forever anymore.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff came out this year that wasn't live service too.
Yeah.
Resident Evil, Armored Core, Alan Wake, Remnant, Diablo. I think it's definitely a live service.
Yeah, I bought Diablo as well. I played it a little bit. I didn't finish the story, but oh yeah, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Like fuck, I bought a lot of stuff. Those kind of are live servicey, especially like Mortal Kombat. But yeah, I just try to. I'll do the seasonal stuff and then peace out. So I am due to do that in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that seasonal stuff in that game is supposed to be a pretty bad grind, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not. It gets fun when you know you're pretty much done. Yeah, as ridiculous as that sounds. Like when I finished the seasonal stuff and I was like, hey, now I can just do like the harder fights for like the better stuff. I was more into it. But then leading up to it, I just felt like it was like a slog.
And now for overall game of the year. Starting with Bobby.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious what I'm going to go with. Final Fantasy 16 was just an incredible game for me. I did finish it, and then I played it on its New Game Plus mode, and just enjoyed it more than I ever thought. The game features, I think, one of the best main characters that Final Fantasy's ever had. The game looks incredible. It plays like a video game that has an insane budget. The world is really cool. The combat is amazing. It was mostly done by a bunch of ex-Capcom devs. So there's some really cool combos and some really cool things you can just do with your abilities there. And then on top of that, it features these icon fights where you transform and just have these insane battles. Yeah, Final Fantasy 16 is a really, really good video game. Unfortunately, has not a great ending, but yeah, for sure my favorite game this year.
And yeah, for me, it's going to Alan Wake 2. It's the most creative game I've played in a long time. One of the more interesting ones. Visually looks really damn good. And yeah, sadly the ending wasn't the greatest, but at least we know we're going to get a sequel at some point, probably from the ending. Runner-ups is kind of tied between Dead Space Remake and Resident Evil 4 Remake. Initially I thought all three of those games were going to be tied together, but yeah, not quite. And now to Kieran.
Hitting you with a curveball, we're back to Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, I've pretty much all the points that I've made. The customizable like kind of story that you can have with the game. Just I guess yeah, kind of like having a feeling of agency. The story is great. There's tons of plot twists that are, or and other like compelling story moments that I will not spoil, but they are great, and I love them. Yeah, the fact like you can, there's like 8 people that you can have or that you can choose from to have in your party of 4, and so there are a lot of different interactions that certain characters can have, and a lot of different ways that the story can play out depending on who you have in your party at the time. And yeah, the story is great all the way through. Endings are, I mean, the endings I've gotten are, well, ending I've gotten is good. And the other endings that I've heard people get are also great. So yeah, just all around great game, and it looks good too. That helps.
That always helps. Right, most anticipated game for 2024.
Man, for me, both of my most anticipated games come out on the same day, and in less than a month. So it's kind of crazy for me, but I would give the nod to Tekken 8. I'm obviously a huge fighting game fan. Street Fighter 6 was great. Mortal Kombat 1 was pretty good. I absolutely love Tekken 7, so I'm pretty excited with not only how this game looks, how it plays. You can really see that they poured everything they have into it, and Tekken 8 just looks fucking awesome. But Like a Dragon, aka Yakuza, Infinite Wealth comes out the same day. And I really love the ridiculousness of those Yakuza games, so I'm really looking forward to that one too.
What's this? You're not mentioning Last of Us Part 2 Remastered? Eh.
Not in my top 25 most anticipated, but I'd probably say about 26.
Man, fuck that game. For me, well, there's two I'm really looking forward to that also both come out, I think, the same month. And that's Helldivers 2 and Final Fantasy VII Part 2, or Rebirth. They are both February, so it's gonna be a busy month.
The first couple months of 2024 are pretty stacked. I think it's coming to Game Pass, but there's also that Fantasio game Metaphor from the Persona team. So, not really a big weeb or anything, but I'll be trying that out as well.
And Kieran.
Yeah, mine's probably also gonna have to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Part 2, whatever they're calling it. But yeah, definitely that one for me. I'm a huge Final Fantasy VII fan since the OG one came out, however, before I was even born, I think. But yeah, yeah, I've been super excited to continue with that game, and I'm probably gonna have to wait until past 2024 because I do not have a PS5.
How long did it take for the first remake to get to PC?
1 year. Sony has a 1-year exclusive deal. Which Square Enix has kind of recently said that they're going to get away from doing deals like that. And they had Phil Spencer come out and say that Final Fantasy 15 or 14 was coming to Xbox as well. Because they've been pumping a lot of money into those games and they need as many sales as possible. So the exclusivity is hurting them.
Yeah.
But I also think that, I could be wrong, but I also think that Final Fantasy VII Remake was exclusive to Epic Games on PC.
That's true.
Pretty sure it launches an exclusive to Epic Games Store, because people were also not happy about that. Yeah, so Final Fantasy VII Remake launched on December 16th, 2021 to the Epic Games Store. It came to Steam on June 17th, 2022. It was exclusive to Epic for like 7 months.
Should see if Castle just lend you his PS5, Kieran.
Yeah.
I don't think he uses it, so I think the only thing he ever played was Fortnite. So.
Oh, what a waste.
I know. Well, anyway, I think we've burned through all the categories here. So.
How about your most searched character on the hub?
Starting with you.
Nah, how about you go first?
Well.
Anyway, yeah, I think that's about it here. I will switch that to pause.
Well, 9, I should probably head off anyway.
Alrighty. Well, I think with a bit of editing, we could probably make that something better.
That's the magic. Well,
alrighty.
Have a good night, guys.
Yeah.
Take care. Have a good night.
And for when I eventually edit this and put it up on YouTube, you can follow Kieran on YouTube. I will put a link in the description.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully that's something I can do more this year.
Yeah.
And I guess also Happy New Year, because that's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
All right. See you later.
Yeah. See you later.
Peace.
Well, thank you all for watching. I will try to get part 2 of this up next week, where we cover all the bad games from the year.